Now that we know how the field is set up, we know the different positions, let's take a look at how you would start a game, and that is with a kickoff. So let's take a look at how you do a kickoff. There's a few different times throughout the game where you would have a kickoff, and as I mentioned, the first one then would be at the beginning of the game. So at the beginning of the game, and then also at the beginning of the second half. If you remember, the game would be divided into 4 15-minute quarters. At the end of the first quarter and the end of the third quarter, the teams just switch sides, but the team who is on offense at that point will remain on offense. But after halftime, after the intermission, after the second quarter, then we would begin the third quarter of the second half with another kickoff. If there is an overtime, then that would also be a point when we would have a kickoff. We would also have a kickoff after a touchdown, and it wouldn't be right after the touchdown. It would actually be after the either extra point or the 2-point conversion. And then after a successful field goal. So if you remember from the field goal or the scoring video, if a team misses a field goal, the team that was on defense at the time that the field goal was kicked will actually become the offense, and they will take over the ball right where it was, right at that line of scrimmage. But if the team does make the field goal, then they would kick off to the other team. So let's take a look then. How does these kickoff things work? So at the beginning of the game, as well as the beginning of the second half, the ball will be placed on the 35-yard line, and the players will line up. We would have our kicker would be, of course, the central guy involved here, and then we would have all the other players on the team. So again, there would be 11 players out there on both teams. I won't draw them all, but they would have some on one side, usually some on the other side. And then of course we'll have our defense, and they'll be standing down here waiting, and there's usually either one or two guys who are deep right around the goal line to receive the ball. And then of course we have all the other members of the receiving team. You cannot block a kickoff. You can only come within 10 yards of that kickoff. So the defense isn't allowed to go, or the receiving team isn't allowed to go beyond 10 yards in front of where the ball is. So we have all our players here. The team, the kicker will run up, kick the ball, and it will be caught then by the receiving team, who will run as far as he can. Of course, these guys here, they'll run up, will try to block for him wherever he decides to run, and at the same time, these guys on the team who kicked off, they will run down, they will try to tackle or pull down the guy with the ball, the guy who received the ball. And so then wherever that would occur, that's where the first line of scrimmage would be, and then the X's would then become the blue team would become the offense. If in the event the ball is kicked so far that it goes into the end zone, so it gets kicked the whole way down here into the end zone, which is a fairly common occurrence nowadays, and either maybe the receiver catches the ball and he decides not to come out of the end zone, or if the ball actually goes out of the back of the end zone, then this would result in what we call a touchback. And so a touchback means that there is no kickoff return, and that the ball is simply placed at the 20-yard line, and so the 20-yard line would then be the first line of scrimmage for the blue team heading down the field. So let's take a look at a few pictures. Maybe that'll make more sense to you then. So here's a guy, or a kicker here for this white team. He will be kicking the ball off down the field, and you can see probably even better in this photo that the white guy, the guy on the white team here is kicked off down the field. Here's all his guys on his team, and so all 10 of them will run down, as well as the kicker, to run down and try to tackle the guy who has received the ball and is running back. And so that then is how kickoffs work.